After 350,000 demonstrators took to the streets of Kiev over the weekend, the Ukrainian government managed to survive a no-confidence vote on Tuesday, which triggered a new round of protests. Several lawmakers had called for the vote in response to the police's use of excessive force against protesters on Saturday. The opposition, led by a group of lawmakers and a surprisingly public sports-turned-political hero, world heavyweight boxing champion Vitaly Klitschko, the opposition disagrees with the president's decision not to sign a political and trade agreement with the EU. Tammy Lynch is an independent researcher on the Ukraine and joins us via Skype from Boston. Welcome to Arise America, Tammy. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you very much for having me.
Give us just a little bit of a recap. In that long intro, I did it as well, of the perspective of this protest and why the president rejected the EU deal.
Well, as with most things in Ukraine, it's very, very complicated. This problem with Ukraine has actually been going on since it gained independence in 1991. Ukraina, which is the name of the country, means borderland. It's the border of the EU, the border of Russia. And there are many, many different interests within the country, and they've been fighting it out amongst themselves to determine the direction of the country for many, many years. And this latest round is simply the latest in a long line of disagreements between those who prefer Russia and those who prefer the EU direction.
And what's the general public sentiment at this point? Is it more that prefer Russia or more that prefer the EU?
Well, it's a very divided country, and most polls have found that it's about 50-50 among the population, but it's actually more than just EU or Russia. That's sort of shorthand for democracy versus a less democratic regime, let me put it kindly. On the one hand, you have demonstrators who want free media, they want free speech, they want guaranteed free elections, they want to be part of the global community that they see on their western border. And then on the other hand, there are people and quite a few politicians who have business interests, who have economic interests, financial interests in Russia, and see that as much more advantageous to them and their long-term political interests.
Speaking of business and economic interests, that often lends itself to corruption. How much does corruption or the accusation of corruption play in this controversy?
Ukraine historically has had a large problem with corrupt political interests. The politicians in Ukraine are tied up to most of the major businesses in the country. They're tied into Russian business interests. There are systems set up to make it much easier for you to get contracts to do business if you have good relations with the government and if you have good relations with Russia. And this is something that the protesters are trying to stop. It's something that was a big point within the Orange Revolution. You shouldn't have to bribe the government. You shouldn't have to be in bed with the government, as it were, to work in Ukraine and to have a successful business.
What do you make of not only the large amount of the protests, but even celebrities, if you will, like Vitaly Klitschko weighing in on this?
Well, Vitaly Klitschko actually has a long history of being involved in the opposition movement toward the West, toward democracy. He's been involved essentially since 2004. He headed a political party in 2008. He's been very vocal in wanting to join the global community and have a free and fair and open democratic government in Ukraine. So it's great to see that the people that have been fighting for years for free Ukraine are continuing to do so, because Ukraine is a nascent country. It began in 1991, and I explained to people that it's almost like a toddler or a preteen. It's volatile, it's changeable, and democracy is difficult, and it's taking many years. But with each protest, with each movement, they're getting closer to having a real democratic government.
Yeah, democracy is difficult, as you say, and in some cases also messy. Tammy Lynch, thank you so much for your time. We do appreciate it.